Welcome to Sharpen the Axe. Explore the bleeding edge of guitar and bass gear. Discover a sound uniquely your own and cut through the noise. With your hosts, Eric Lucero and Paul Berezetsky.
Hey guys, this is Eric Lucero
and Paul Berezetsky
of Sharpen the Axe on EnterTalk Radio, sponsored by Pitbull Audio. And on today's episode, we are bringing you one of our newest brands we just started carrying, Wren and Cuff Creations, and we have with us actually Matt Holl himself of Wren and Cuff. How's it going, Matt?
It's going good.
And thank you very much for joining us, and sorry about all the delays and such and getting this up and running. But could you start by giving us a little bit of the history of Wren and Cuff?
Yeah, we started like 2008, and I mean, at first it wasn't really, be stretching it to call it a company. But, it was just me building in the backyard and throwing stuff up on eBay and hoping somebody would buy it. And it started with a friend of mine had an old full tone pedal from the 90s that was like the most immaculate thing you'd ever seen inside. Like, they aren't like that now, apparently. But they used to do them. I mean, it was like a piece of art inside. And I really thought it was neat, so I wanted to try and do that. So I used to just have it like sitting next to me on the bench and try and make stuff as like that, and just gradually throwing stuff up, and then just got name kind of got around, and then some sort of famous people started using it. Then it actually became like a real thing.
Did you try to kind of copy the same design and get the same sound out of it, or you were just kind of using it as a as an example of how to build?
Oh, both. I mean, that one it was an Octafuzz, and I wasn't like the actual sound of it wasn't my thing, only because the kind of music I played at the time, it just wasn't something you'd throw an Octafuzz into. Mm-hmm. But it was looking at it, and just the whole thing of it, I mean, just that it was like a step above, what you just go by in a regular store. It was a lot harder to find boutique pedals then, too. I mean, you guys know, only even like 10 years ago, stuff like that. I mean, it was a way different world, as far as pedals go.
Right.
But the first one that I actually started selling was Way Huge one. It was when Way Huge wasn't around. They had kind of gone under, and I made a Swollen Pickle, and it took me a long time because I kept making them. I made a bunch of them. They didn't really, they kind of sort of sounded like it, but I couldn't really get it because it uses this oddball chip inside, and I went through all these chips, and I finally thought I got it, And it's funny side story is that I met him recently, and I was like, yeah, I went through all these chips and blah, 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 blah to try and find it. He's like, no, I just used this one. It was the first one I had started with, but there was no magic to it or anything, because he sanded off the little ID on there and everything. And I was like, I swear, man, it didn't sound like it to me. So.
And that was that's George Tripp's, right? The original Way Huge guy. And
yes.
Was that the Pickle Pie, the first one back then?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as he came back with Dunlop, because I used to make a Red Llama one too, and as soon as he came back, I just stopped. Because I was like, what, people can buy the real one. And it was also just weird. I didn't want to, because I just figured it was a good time. I had other designs I wanted to do, so I stopped. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, it was our Swollen Pickle, or our Pickle Pie.
Right on. Now, a lot of your circuits are built around the classic Muff, something you can't really get around. But where did the focus on fuzz come from for you, as opposed to just going for straight drive circuits or delays or any of that?
I mean, to be honest, it wasn't even so much a tone or a sound thing. It became this sort of weird quest where I was basically like, I'd go online and like you'd see what people had on their websites, what they were advertising or whatever, and then you'd go on like the forums and see everybody talking shit about everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, am I allowed to cuss on you?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
And and I saw a lot of people that they would say this or that fuzz, and they wouldn't acknowledge what it was, even though everybody knew it was a big muff. And so I kind of thought, I'm going to take the polar opposite approach, and I'm going to, I couldn't really use the words big muff legally and all that stuff, but I'm going to, try and copy a circuit like exactly like instead of just looking at a skim online, like get a hold of a old one, because they're so inconsistent, so I would get a hold of one good one and say I'm going to copy that, and right down to like not just looking at the values in the pedal, but pulling them apart. And I actually wrecked a couple vintage pedals doing that, but and measuring everything out. And it became more of a quest to like sit there and drive myself insane, like A-Bing the pedals, and then be like, I got it, and then come back 2 days later and be like, oh, my ears were fried, I don't really have it.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it was a lot of quest to find the nuances, between a Ram's Head, a Civil War, whatever version. But you were trying to really learn the little specifics, the nuances between the different versions and what made each of them special.
Yeah, I mean the tall fonts, that was our, we had the Pickle Pie B that was sort of big, but the tall font. This guy Scott from Weezer, is the bass player in Weezer. He hit me up through this guy Juan already, and he said I always use this tall font that he has. It was kind of falling apart, but he's like, I've been wanting to get that sound. So I was like, well, try ours. And the thing, and him and a lot of other bass players were using, the thing I finally figured out was that it was another one that was kind of the opposite of what everybody wants out of those, or wants, when they think of Big Muff. It had super low gain. The output was kind of crappy on it. Like you had to almost dime it to get it to be a little bit louder than line level. And it was just a weird pedal. Like when you heard it just sort of on its own, it was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. But then in a live setting, it was one that like it would cut through and you could actually hear it. I always thought of it as kind of like a working man's muff, especially, with bass, but I mean guitar too. And, so that was, kind of what I discovered. Cause when I copied the first one, or I recreated the first one that I did, I honestly was like, I don't think people are going to buy this because, what I just said, the low output volume, it doesn't have, comparatively a ton of fuzz. And I thought people were going to be like, it's not very exciting. But, it just taught me that I don't know what people are going to like, because it's done really well for us. And I described that on the website and did all that stuff. And, so I just been kind of doing my thing with that since then. And, it's worked out good. I don't, I've said in other like interviews and stuff, I think it's, in a way, it's cost me some money because I get a little too obsessive about it, down to where these things where it's like, nobody can hear this difference, but I'm sitting there like, I can hear it, and like sometimes it's like, probably should have let it go, but it ends up paying off in the end. I mean, I just feel weird about just cranking out pedals, you know what I mean? Like I really want to put something into them, and
you got to be able to live with yourself afterwards.
Yeah, and I want people to feel like, hey, I got, there's a reason that I'm paying this. I mean, there's a billion pedals out there, and we charge more than your average, the fuzz pedal on a lot of levels. But it's not just, it's not just the parts. It's like, I got to pay myself, and it's like the time put into it, and all that stuff is like how I can justify that. To be honest with you, it's because I put a lot of work into it, and we do the best we can, and we want to make a unique. It sounds silly saying unique when it's a recreation of something else, but I feel our approach is totally unique, to how we do it.
Well, that brings up that answer actually brings up 2 points. I mean, I always get customers at Pitbull Audio that why do these boutique pedals cost so much? And I think most of the time they just want something awesome for super cheap. I mean, they're only human, but it's interesting to try to convince them of that there's someone who took the time out of their lives to R&D this, to put it together, something USA built that's not off of a assembly line off in China, Indonesia, or something, where it's whatever parts are substitute. You guys make an effort to choose the right parts, the right components for the right sound, down to the transistors, caps, all kinds of components. But it's, especially when I get something like this out in front of a customer and compare it to some Chinese-made cheap fuzz, how their eyes widen when they plug into something nice like this. And the second point on that, I actually want to ask you is, I mean, every company has a fuzz now, every single one. And how do you feel you guys stand out? And at this point, with almost every circuit seemingly having been copied or modified in one way or another for fuzz, where is there left to go now?
I mean, those are all good points. I mean, as far as, I'm trying to sum all this up into one way, because this could be like a 4-hour conversation. But
Yeah, true.
as far as the pedals go, and you said convincing people that something's worth paying for. I mean, the honest answer to that too is some boutique pedals aren't. You know what I mean? Some are just kind of popped out and cranked out. I mean, I'm not going to start naming names or anything like that, but I like to think that ours are special enough to to be one of those where it's like you're like, okay, I get it. When you read online about our pedals and stuff, like I've made like super lengthy descriptions because I want people to understand this is what you're paying for. You're not. It wasn't just like I was like, big muffs are cool. I'm gonna make this one. I'm gonna make this one. And there's guys in this industry that are incredibly smart and their knowledge just goes so far beyond mine. Like the guy, this guy Matthew from Alexander Pedals.
Oh, yeah.
There's other guys that I've talked. I mean, I have a conversation with that dude, and it's just like I get off and I'm like, I know nothing. It's just so like on another level. But it's it's one of those things, like you said. It's really like just putting your heart into it and doing that, and people can tell too. You can tell when you look at something, like somebody really, is this all about just like the artwork, or is it really about the pedal, or are they lucky enough to have both? You know what I mean? Yeah. And the funniest one to me is always like, well, I could make this out of this handful of parts or this handful of parts, and it's like, yeah, you could. I mean, you could do those, but this guy, I always forget I think it's Philippe, that's how you say his name, but at Caroline. I'm like sort of friends, like as much as you can be friends, sort of shooting each other messages back and forth once in a while. But he had this great post about going through things and showing like what people are totally fine with paying for. It was like, the amount that you'll pay for a Coca-Cola versus what it cost Coke to make.
Yeah.
It's like 2 cents for them, and then even if you pay 50 cents, you're doing it's like 25 times the price, and same with jeans, same with everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know why us, musicians and stuff like that are so often, even like a Stratocaster, which is 2 pieces of wood and some frets.
Yeah,
well, there's a little more to it than that.
Or you hear some old timers once in a while go, that cost $250 when I bought it in 19 whatever. And like, yeah, adjust for inflation, that was still a $2,000 guitar then, in rough equivalents. Yeah.
Yeah, my uncle's a crotchety old musician, and he's always telling me, he's like, you have no idea how good you have it. And I have no clue. It was, he had to finance his first amp.
Oh, wow.
It was a Vox Super Beetle. It was this giant, obscenely big amp. And
that is awesome, though. Those are rarities now.
I think at the time it was, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it was around 3,000 or 4,000, which would make it some ungodly amount now.
Wow.
That's how much a reissue magnetone costs now.
somebody's gonna say, no, that's wrong. It was probably this much. So I could totally be wrong on the amount, but all I know is he was like, man, he had to work a long time for it. So it's not. I guess it's not that bad paying $1,000 for an amp or $2,000. Nowadays.
Yeah, my amp was more expensive than I could really afford, but it's what I've needed.
The ability to find stuff on Craigslist or eBay where you could search things in a kind of systematic manner and not just get lucky with used stuff.
Yeah, it kind of feeds into the trying to find boutique pedals 9-10 years ago, even further, because I remember still as a kid seeing all these names in the back of Guitar World and just, who are these people? What is this thing? What does it do?
Yeah.
I found a Klon Centaur ad from the 90s back in the day, and that's for $150, and now they go for $2,000. Wow.
That's one of those ones it's too long of a story to get into, but that guy's research and development on his stuff and everything goes 500 times beyond mine. I mean, he took couple of years to make that pedal.
Yeah.
And obsessively checking between caps and everything. He's another one. It's on a whole nother level, man.
Yeah, the story's about Bill Finnegan, who is the creator of the Klon Centaur, and Alexander Dumble I forgot the guy who made Trainwreck amps. And you're talking about some of these engineers, like the guy from Alexander Pedals, they make unique stuff that's legendary, just for that attention to detail.
Yeah,
just pretty crazy. If I could ask, you.
Yeah,
you
I kind of lost your other questions. Like I started.
I'm talking in circles. It's all good. I think I might have confused my own self on that. But you mentioned Juan Alderete earlier, and you guys have some insane names playing your stuff, which is how I found out about you guys years ago. Jay Mascis used you guys, Juan, guys, and Boris. So who is out there playing your gear right now?
To correct that, Boris doesn't use.
Oh, they don't? Okay.
No. We did the White Elk. It was inspired by them using it because I have a distributor in Japan, and he was like, "Hey, you should do a version of this." So when we talk about it, when I think it's the way I described it online. It's it just basically says we like their sound and everything. Wanted to try, and I mean you can't even find those things to buy them barely. The Elks, the original ones. So. But just to correct that, but yeah, I mean, I just got lucky, friend of a friend with the Jay Mascis thing. And even he, I mean, you could say Jay Mascis plays our pedals, but it's like that guy's switching up his board all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like he could have something on his board and then, 2 months later, it's like a whole different setup. So I think he has one. I don't know for sure, but
I've seen at least a picture or two with the box of ore in there, but yeah, it's a buddy of mine sometimes does guitar tech for him or front of house sound, and I always enjoy seeing the constantly changing board. But if I may ask, I saw on your Instagram, you guys, one of his fuzzes was at your place. Could you give any details about what that was, or is that something in hush?
Yeah, I mean, I can just say we're trying to work something out with his, and then, that's all I'll go into with that, but. And he also had something that I was fixing. So there's two parts to that. But yeah, it was neat. It was neat having it here. I wish I could go into more detail about it.
It's all good. No worries.
I'm sure you can put it together. What I'm trying to make happen.
Right on.
But I got to do. He was a couple of years ago. He was doing some like private party Marshall thing, and it was pretty slick because I got to go down his. Let me see how I can make this not a long story. He was coming into town for like 2 nights, didn't have any of his gear, and his manager hit me up, who I'd kind of known a little bit, was like, "Can you bring a pedal for Jay?" And I was like, "I'll bring him aboard if he wants. I'll have it ready to go." I just plugged it in, and so I brought it down there, and I got to see Dinosaur Jr. in it was like a backyard pretty much.
Wow, the loudest backyard show ever.
Oh God, you have no idea. I love that. But somehow, like, he stands in front of the amps, like, and there's like, it's not feeding back all over the place. It's not, and he has like 4 pedals on at once. I don't know how the dude does it, but somehow it's still like you can still hear that it's a guitar, but it's deafeningly loud.
Yeah, he really is a wizard of sorts, especially on that fuzz side. And for those listening and for any potential customers, you guys just don't just make fuzz pedals, even though that's all we have here. You guys have the Sonder as well, which is analog tremolo, vibrato chorus. You guys have a Germanium compressor as well. And you guys have any other non-fuzz designs?
Yeah, well, the Sonder took quite a while to get going, but that one's kind of my current favorite because that was our first like venture into modulation and stuff like that, and it's it's one of the few that are out there because there's this chip in there. It's this analog chip that, it's just the MN, I don't want to get too geeky, but MN3007, and they're just becoming harder and harder and harder to find. And, they started remaking them a little while ago, and then something happened. They stopped remaking them. I don't know what, but it just got, so why you don't see a lot of analog chorus and stuff coming out new, and to be honest, it's really easy to make it digital and get it pretty close. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can get a lot more versatility and everything. But I just wanted to do it. I wanted to make a tremolo and I wanted to be able to do the Smiths How Soon Is Now in like one pedal.
That is awesome.
That's not even a joke, but so I put the tap tempo on there so you could you could tap along to it. But yeah, that and the the gold comp is another one of my favorites, because that was, I really liked I used the Keeley comp for a long time, and I was like, I don't want to do something unless I can do it like markedly different than that, because I didn't want to like just do like a Ross thing, because I kind of felt like, well, Keeley's got that covered. I don't think I'm going to top it really as far as just doing a Ross one. And so I wanted to come up with something different. And there's these, I think it's Chandler was the only one I could find that they did a rack mount compressor that was germanium. And I was just kind of like, well, I haven't seen anybody put that in a pedal. And I searched it, and I was like, oh my God, no one's done a germanium. Like, I thought, this is almost nothing hasn't been done now. I thought for sure somebody had done it, but so that one's really cool. I mean, I can say all my pedals are cool, and obviously my opinion's biased, but it was a really intense, fun one to make, and it's kind of dirty sounding if you want it to be, and it can be cleaner sounding if you want it to be, and hate to use the word, but transparent. It's one of those words that everyone drops everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how you have a transparent fuzz.
Yeah,
it's a fuzz.
yeah, that definitely the buzzword. That and God, yeah. If one more transparent overdrive, I don't want to see one more. We have 6 of yours in front of us right here. We got the Your Face 60s, Your Face 70s, Tall Font Russian, the IC Pi, Box of War, and the White Elk. Basically all the ones we have gotten at Pitbull Audio so far. Is there any particular settings or anything special like these you'd like to point out?
Well, I don't know why you don't have the other ones. That's what I want to know.
That is a good question.
We ran out of space on here.
Yeah. We need 2 cameras to get all of them in one shot.
We only have 6 patch cables in the studio. That's all we can afford.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's understandable. That's what it's like around here. I mean, look for a patch cable. There's not enough around. And once again, I've totally forgotten what your question was.
Oh, it's all good. I barely listen when I talk. It's all good. Any particular settings or anything in particular you want to point out about these 6?
You know what? I mean, it's if I was going to tackle that, breaking it down, I mean, that's like, we get into so many vague guitar, talking about transparent and warm and analog and, all that stuff that, I can tell you what inspired them, and I can tell you, the details of them, and all that stuff is for when you go through them. But, just saying settings and all that, I mean, the settings are what everybody wants. I mean, my settings are way different than what's going to sound good to you on your Les Paul through whatever amp, that these, you know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah.
I'm a Strat guy, and and all that, but you said you have the IC Pi and the White Elk. Those are our 2 that they were originally exclusives in bigger boxes, and I mean, it's hard because the ones I'm excited about are new ones, just like a band that records a new record, and they're always like, "Yo, you got to hear the new stuff."
Yeah.
I mean, and it'll change, later on. But those are the White Elk's really cool because it's just wrong. It's not. It's another one where their components when they made them were so awful. I mean, awful that you measure them and the caps are all over the road and everything. It's like, there's like a variance of literally like 40%. Which is insane, on the values inside. So like the biasing on it is totally wrong. Like it shouldn't be like that. So you hear the low end on it and everything, it's real uneven. And it's kind of the opposite of the tall font. The tall font's nice and even and not too much overdrive or anything, but the White Elk's just like kind of sounds like it's falling apart. And which is fun. You know what I mean? It's not for everybody, but it's really fun.
And if I got the at least this aspect on the story of it right, it was a Japanese copy of a Muff, right?
Yeah, it was like a shameless copy. They even used the words Big Muff on it. Like they didn't even care, and it was a sustainer, and they spelt it like SUSTANIAR or something weird like that, like Sustainar, and
Sustainar.
Something like that. Yeah, I think I probably spelt it wrong, but yeah, it was a knockoff of a muff then, and they were kind of unknown. And then I guess Waza, I think her name is, from Boris, the girl that's in Boris, just started using them, and people started noticing them and kind of, you know, seeking them and hunting them down because they didn't make that many of them. And there's a bunch of them though. They're weird. Like, you know, there's like different, like their names, and there's another one that sort of implies that it's a muff, but it's not, and it's real confusing. But there's like an octave one, I think, and I don't know. But that one is, it's basically they tried to copy a triangle and triangle muff, and they failed at it, but it's very weird sounding. I mean, the one that I had here and was working on, I had two of them here. One of them, I mean, it was so, you just turned it on, it was just like your amp, even if you just had the volume down, I mean, it was crazy noise. That was something to tackle. I was trying to make it all funky without that crazy noise. But yeah, that's what that one is. And then the IC Pi was a Chicago music exclusive that we did in the original Box of War size enclosure. And we did that for, I think it was a year was our commitment to them. And then, you know, we put it in the smaller box because we kept having everybody asking us, you know, when are you going to make it? When are you going to make it available to everybody else and all that? And plus people like the smaller size, you know, so.
And the big concept behind this one is that at 75 or so, they went from transistor, Electro-Harmonics with the Big Muff went from transistor to IC board or IC chips, right?
Yeah, it was in the later 70s. They did. I think it was, I want to say 78, 77 too. I think it was 77, 78. I mean, there's a lot of lore behind it. I don't know exactly what the logic was. I think maybe they thought they could do it like more consistently with op amps or something, and so they just, you know, with the ICs, op amps, same thing, but you know, they thought they could just kind of crank them out better, and maybe, you know, I think that, you know, everybody was really excited about op amps, and I think that, you know, maybe they just thought like, oh, it'll be cooler and it'll be more edgy, and it's a love it or hate it pedal. It really is. I mean, some people play those and are just like disgusted by them, you know, because there's more of a metal-y kind of edge to them. Like if you want like a super, you know, warm, like sustaining, like, you know, nice fuzz, you don't want it. You know what I mean? It's a little harsh sounding in a cool way, which is what other people love about it.
So you're saying it's not transparent at all?
It is not transparent. It's not friendly. You know, and I'm a fan of those kind of pedals. You know, sometimes like I love my Boss pedals. I love DS1s. You know, my old ones and stuff like that, which some people are just also disgusted by. You know, those pedals. So,
do you find that's kind of normally a balancing act you have to do, is like what you prefer sonically, personally, and what would potentially be popular as a product?
Oh, of course. I mean, that's always the thing, you know. But I mean, I usually won't tackle it, obviously, if it's something that that I'm not excited about. But, you know, getting it from a working prototype to something that I'm into is the hard part. But yeah, I mean, it's a fine line. But I mean, with things like that, you know, it's a real obvious, you know, end game where I'm like really trying to like hammer it out and get it to sound like whatever unit I have there, you know. And like I said, all the AVing and stuff, that makes it easy. When it's one of our own designs, then yeah, that becomes the wise and like, I don't know, is that, you know, too much this way or too much that way? And I mean, everything, it just all equates to me to, you know, studio recording. It's the same exact thing where it's like you listen to something and you're like, it's fucking amazing, and then you come back 2 days later and you're like, what the hell was wrong with my ears? This just sounds terrible, you know. And you have to do that whole game, and then finally at the end of it, you know, you're hopefully like, now this is our record, this sounds right, you know, this sounds good, and you have to go through all that, you know, that shit together. I've learned you have to rest your ears a lot, you really do. So, you know, something can just sound really great and you get ear fatigue and all that. But yeah, I mean, what you said is exactly it. You have to walk a line sometimes with it. But and sometimes I just don't care. I just want it to be what I like, and that's it. You know, and I just hope everyone else will too.
I got to imagine you guys every once in a while get just floods of emails from customers just wanting this, that, and the other thing. So it must be hard to want to give in to what they want, but then stand on your own ground on some respects and like, nah, I can't do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the hardest ones with emails are like, I want to get this warm tone with this smooth sound, and it's like, I have to be like, look, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like, you got to just read all the descriptions on the site and look at YouTube, and there's nothing that I could type into this email that's going to describe it all better than like looking at all the demos online and, looking at all that kind of stuff. But yeah, and then, you got to, the one that I get a lot of times with the muffs is, it would be cool if you added this switch and that switch and then this. And, my thought on that is always like, there's tons of guys out there that do that if that's what you want. Like the whole point of ours, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some of them are very, very cool. If you're coming to Wren and Cuff for stuff, it's like you're getting it like it's kind of a muff purist thing. You know what I mean? And it's like, so I feel like once you start adding a lot of switches and stuff, then it's just a cool distortion pedal. It's not really a muff anymore because, to make a muff, it's like it's got to have a nice, nice sharp mid scoop in it, and it's got to just have that real like sort of burly sound to it that it has, and but you can make a really cool distortion pedal based on that circuit and add a lot of options. I mean, it's so easy to just add a zillion options to it. So, but that's the one I get more than anything is that. Why don't you add this switch? Why don't you add that switch? I'm like, well, because I don't want to, I mean, because it's kind of not the point,
Right on.
And I'm just like, the way my brain works, if I have too many options, like on a pedal board, I can't do it, man. It'll just drive me insane.
That's
I'll go
true.
nuts.
That could get distracting.
Yeah, I got to strip it down, like on my own board. I got to strip it down to like maybe 5 or 6 pedals at the most, because, I just have to make myself do it, because I won't even practice. I'll just sit there and fuck with them all night.
There is such thing as equipment discipline, though, I guess,
I could use some of that.
Right?
I need to pare down my board.
Well, Matt, thank you very, very much for joining us for this interview. We appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me.
And next we'll hopefully have you back soon. And thanks again.
Thanks for thinking I have something interesting enough to listen to in my rants. So have a good one, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. All right, and I guess we'll just dive right into checking them out now.
Yeah, I've been chomping at the bit here.
Yeah, right. So we have right here the Your Face 60s Hot Germanium Fuzz. Next to it is the Your Face 70s Smooth Silicone 70s Fuzz. The Tall Font Russian. After that, the IC Pi, then the Box of War, and then the White Elk. So I guess we'll start with the Your Face 60s. So we got the fuzz at about halfway, tone cut all the way back, so it's opened up.
Wow, on the neck pickup it got really dingy.
It's very interactive with the low cut knob.
Almost glitching it out.
Yeah, I like that dying battery sort of sound on it. Yeah.
That's cool. Almost like a kill switch. Alright, go ahead, I'm hogging it.
I'm on my bridge pickup of my EGC with the P90s. Let's try something different here.
So it's almost like a noise gate that's kind of set to something ridiculous.
I can see
Just
how you think that.
Kind of like on the low end, though, right? It's cutting the lows.
Yeah, it is a low cut. So I'm gonna bring it back to open, and I want to try something here for the '60s fuzz side. I actually like it. It does have there is a nice familiarity in the old 60s fuzz faces. I mean, ubiquitous. I think most of us have owned one or a variant at some point. And I mean, again, that kind of not oversaturated, but still pushed Germanium sound. I really dig. What are you thinking of this one so far on its own?
Pretty cool.
Right?
Raunchy, yeah, like you said, not super saturated like a pie.
Yeah, which we'll get to down the line. So that's pretty neat. You want to go to a good vintage sound, something that's again one of the things that's nice about Matt's designs in Wren and Cuff is vintage designs that are more reliable now than the than the weird variants and boxes you got back then.
I used to have I think I had one muff that I loved the tone, but it was so noisy.
Yeah.
It was just not functional in a real life setting.
Yeah, unless you put a noise gate behind it, which can really cut you bad in some places. It can be a bit difficult. Now we move down the line just a little bit, just one. This here is the Your Face silicone instead of germanium transistors. So that's pretty driven as it is. Wow. Rolled back my volume a little.
That was just you on clean, just all the way up.
Yeah.
That guitar is like
it's hot.
it's
Yeah.
just monstrous.
It just punches.
We're playing through my Mesa Boogie F50 amp. That's very, very clean amp normally. I don't know how you're getting so much distortion.
And we're on the you're on your clean channel, right?
Yeah, on the clean channel. I can never get it to do that with any of my guitars.
So there's a relatively clean. Go ahead. That's again a little bit more piercing, a little bit more focused than the Germanium fuzz. It's kind of cool on the lead part. So again, it is a kind of familiar sort of sound. Another good kind of classic fuzz.
Yeah.
Well replicated and well done by Matt and crew over at Wren and Cuff Creations. So we jump to the next one then.
Sure.
So let's hear your clean. And this here, starting at noon on tone and distortion. Oh, and real quick, both the Your Faces before have 3 controls each, volume, fuzz, and low cut. We go to the tall font Russian now. It's volume, distortion, and tone. We just heard your cleans, I believe. Now let's turn her on.
There it is.
Yeah, sounds nice and full. It gets a bit unexpectedly thin, but in a nice, good cutting way at the top of the tone there.
So it's kind of bassy all the way to like 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden just thins out.
Like, just keep hitting open E. Like, yeah, we'll check it out.
It's really dark down there.
Yeah, you can, yeah. And it's, let's see if I can do drop D real quick. Good for doomy stuff. Want to get into that like Sun O or Sleep sort of stoner doom metal territory, this is pretty awesome for it. But I mean, if you want to get, I kind of want to try it right here.
That seems to be like the most balanced spot on that tone control. Is about, what is it, 2 o'clock, 2:30?
Yeah, and it's, I mean, it's when from the first big muffs that I encountered were a lot of the sub tech, which is pretty much trying to be the sub tech big muff. Were a lot of the first ones that I remember, because I remember as a kid they were just starting to reissue those, and you were getting them in the they were still selling them in the oh, thank you. That's co-host service right there. Passes the only other gravity pick in the room right to you.
What do you like?
Yeah, that's it's you're a good co-host. But yeah, it was a lot of the Sovtech pies that they were reissuing. They were still selling them in the wooden boxes with the hay.
Yeah.
So this is the sound that feels at home to me. Except for screwing up that Red Fang song, but yeah, this is that, like, my first taste of distortion, I think. Was, I think a lot of the players that I liked at the time when I started were using subtext or variants.
First taste of distortion, like that was your first distortion pedal that you owned?
No, I didn't own that one at first. That was one of the first ones I tried at La Jolla Music Shop, where I was taking lessons.
No wonder you're such a pedal snob. My first distortion was like this DOD hot pink mess thing from the 80s.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about too.
You
Yeah,
do?
the shred something.
Yeah.
I've seen them a couple times. There's a neon green or neon pink, a neon yellowish
I had the
highlighter
neon
color
pink
one. And those DODs are awesome to collect, and and scavenge for on eBay or pawn shops.
I know a dude around here in San Diego that mods a lot of old DoD stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I need to meet this person. I probably got a couple projects for them.
For sure.
Now, he actually compared the tall font Russian to the white elk. And the white elk is the one which was a copy of the Japanese variants. This is one of my favorites that I picked up when these first came in. I had tried the Box of War, tall font, and the Pickle Pies and Super Fat Fucks from Red and Cup before we got them at Pitbull Audio. But this is one of the ones I had not tried.
Of course. Oh, you haven't tried it?
I tried it when it came into Pitbull Audio.
Okay.
But this was the first one I picked up and tried. Now, he was comparing it to here.
Because Matt was saying that one is just all wrong.
Yeah.
So, of course, you gravitate towards that one.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, let's see what you think of it. I'm going to roll my volume down. Let's hear your clean. And this is a distortion and tone at noon.
Nice.
Right? Wow, lo-fi. Keep going.
That one's fun.
That's pretty neat, right? So there's another famous fuzz box, the Interfax Harmonic Percolator, that Steve Albini's famous for using it, but it had a different sound because instead of even order harmonics, it did odd order harmonics, which I might have that vice versa. It might have been instead of even order or instead of odd does even. But this has a similar feel to me, but with a bit more gain and focus to it, which I think is why I like this.
Very
it's different sounding.
Sonically, very like rich and kind of like unique, complex stuff going on there. Like there's a lot of interesting stuff to the ear.
And there's a lot of overtones that are coming
Yeah.
through that are definitely make for some interesting listening. And that tone control's wide sweep. I mean, you want to get dark and lo-fi, from about here back. There's a wide variety, and you want to get cutting, outside. I also noticed aside from an increase in the highs, there was also almost a mid change as you swept up towards the end. Let me give this one a shot here.
What was that chord it just hit?
Oh.
This is almost like you're listening to your neighbor practice in the garage down the street.
Right, yeah, just pat it all out. So let's do, wow, that was all the way down.
That's all the way down.
That's
that's the pedal, you're a crazy guitar.
Oh yeah, I'll turn mine down.
So that's distortion all the way down. It's still
Yeah.
very, very raunchy.
Which is pretty neat. I mean, it means that, yeah, it's a distortion pedal. There is no clean ground,
Yeah.
like there kind of was with these two. Now let's match, just tone noon, distortion, little pass noon, and see if we can hear some of the similarities between these two. So you go ahead and play. And definitely the White Elk is a bit raunchier, a little bit more forward, and this is a little darker. But it's, again, variations on circuits that were variations on each other. So it's cool to have this kind of variety of something that's kind of maybe somewhat similar. Now let's jump back a couple. We actually have the Russian going into the IC Pi next, which is the one where it's a op-amp IC chip instead of transformers. So we'll have you play.
Let's try the neck pickup here. I think I just made up like a shitty Metallica song.
So something off Saint Anger then.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that makes sense. Another feature on this one, again, jumping back a step, it was just volume, tone, distortion on the White Elk as it is on the Tall Font Russian. On the IC Pi here, you got volume, tone, distortion, and the tone bypass, which is, I guess, some of the later versions of the IC chip versions of the 75 to 77, so I guess 76, 77 Big Muffs had a switch for bypassing the tone stack, so it's much more open and raw. So we'll leave it where it is. And here it is with the tone bypass.
Very dingy sound.
Yeah. Yeah, very earthy and rough.
So then this does nothing right now.
When it switches up, when it's down, then yeah.
didn't bypass and I was still tweaking with the tone
Oh.
like an idiot.
Well, at least you know now. You know,
I just like turning knobs, even if they don't do anything.
it's almost a wah-like sweep, though. Check that. That's kind of cool that it has such a wide, exaggerated frequency on there. But that's, again, you're looking for that unique, not your normal muff sound. That is a cool version.
So I got the tone all the way down on my pickup and
Oh, wow.
and the highs all the way up here. So just kind of reversed it, try to see what it does.
Nice. I actually like that. It's throaty.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, toned down.
Tone down
on your
here
guitar.
and way up on there.
Yeah, that's a great combination. I dig that. We got a couple minutes left. Let's jump to the last one, which is the Box of War, which
Good
is
name.
a build on the Civil War Big Muff. I forgot what year, but it had two different colored fonts on it. But yeah, let's hear your cleans. It's definitely I can't quite put my finger on how to describe the sound on this one, but I definitely like what I'm hearing with it. Something a bit different. Sorry about the tuning, guys. Going between top D and normal. It's yeah, another great flavor and arsenal of fuzz. Getting that famous sustain that it's known for. Now let's hear it with a semi-hollow. Though he introduced it at the end there, I mean, Of course, a Fuzz can sound fantastic with a semi-hollow as well as an ES.
I wanted to hear what it sounds like with the P90s.
Yes, yeah, through a regular wooden instrument. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed us going through 6 out of the many pedals available from Wren and Cuff. They are a great source of for older fuzz ideas that have been brought back with better build, better quality, much more reliable, and some new ideas as well. You can please come in and check them out at Pitbull Audio. If you're in the San Diego region, come on into our storefront. We'll grab these. You can sit down, try them out. And
I recommend the White Elk.
Yeah,
I think that's my favorite today.
Yeah, I gotta say this one definitely has been my favorite. I might wind up with one of these on my board. That's just too cool and a different sound.
No, remember we vowed to scale down our boards.
Yeah, that's my
For every
pedal spending's getting out of control.
Every pedal that you add, you have to take 2 off.
Yeah, that literally is the case recently. Yeah,
it's like the Trump approach.
It's God. God. In any case, we hope you've enjoyed hanging with us and check out some Wren and Cuff fuzzes. Check them out at pitbullaudio.com. We thank Matt once again for being our guest, and we can't wait to have him again next time.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is Sharpen the Axe on EnterTalk Radio, sponsored by Percolator. Thanks for watching.